Hello and welcome to another episode of Midierror Meets, the monthly music podcast where we talk to a wide range of people from the music world. This month I'm speaking to Emily Dolan Davies, who is an incredible drummer who's toured the world and played live with the likes of The Darkness, Bryan Ferry, Kim Wilde, Howard Jones and loads more. Emily also has her own recording studio where she records drums remotely for people across the face of the earth. She also runs STEM Club, which gives amateur DJs and producers access to her musical stems with loads of different styles and tempos available for them to use in their tracks. I caught up with Emily earlier on this year to talk about her career, and the first thing I asked was about her musical beginnings.
Okay, so music has kind of been in my life for as long as I can remember, really, because my dad used to play guitar. He still does very occasionally, but he would always play at like blues jams and stuff. So my youngest sort of memories is him noodling around on a guitar, and my mum used to play a little tiny bit of piano. And by tiny bit, I mean she literally knows maybe 3 songs, and even to this day, she still can't quite play them right. But I love it. It kind of, I don't know, there's something really lovely about that. And there was always sort of music on at home, always playing. And me and my sister were just obsessed by music all the time. We would sit reading lyric books of albums that were out at the time. I remember the Definitely Maybe album by Oasis. We used to sit and incessantly read these lyrics. And I remember we would try and sing along to Prodigy. My dad was really into Fat of the Land, that album. And we were determined not to swear. So we would just make up words like, smack my picture. As opposed to what it actually is, and stuff like that. So music was always a massive, massive part of our life, and I tried playing a few different instruments before I found the drums. My dad tried to teach me guitar. That didn't quite work. I couldn't quite grasp the idea of having 6 strings, each string being a different note, and then you have to actually play all 6 notes or 5 notes or whatever to create a chord. And it was just like, this is too much information. I don't understand. So that didn't work for me. Did piano for a little bit, but again, I just didn't enjoy it. I think it was more to do with the teacher than anything. And then I hit 11 years old and I was in school, and there was a notice in the register that just said there's a drum club starting next week or this week. It's at lunchtime, like head on down. And at the time, I mean, I was incredibly shy, but there was something that I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll try that and see how it goes. And I went to this drum club and sat down and sort of started doing what the teacher was asking us to do, and it just kind of like slotted into place, and I understood. It was the absolute opposite of my guitar experience, where I was just going, oh god, I don't get it, what is this? I just went, I understand this, and I'd never felt like that before about anything, and I just thought, I could do this. I think I could be good at this. I want to do this. And it was like, I remember that moment to this day. And it was just so immediate and undeniable. And that was where my love affair with the drums began, I guess.
That's cool. I mean, what a great, the 90s was such a great time for like influential music.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, the Prodigy, Oasis, hugely influential to loads of people.
Yeah.
I think I love the way that you had it's those little opportunities that appear sometimes, isn't it? Like, do you want to try this thing?
Yeah.
And it just happens to be the one that's like where you should be.
I often think about the sort of series of events that led to me picking up the sticks, and so when I started playing, it was with at the time I didn't know her, but became my best friend, Cherisse Osei, who is a professional drummer also now, and we met in that drum club on that day. But even the paths leading to that point, you know, when you finish primary school and you have options to go to different secondary schools, and I had a couple of options at different schools, so did she, but we both happened to choose the same school for whatever reason. We both happened to go to this drum club, take up that one moment where you just go, okay, I'll try that. And I often think, if I had chosen a different school, or if I had just said, actually no, I'm too shy to go do that, or I don't want to, my life would be so different. And I don't know where I'd be, but I don't think I would like where I would be right now if it wasn't for the drums. So I'm eternally grateful for that moment. And then subsequent moments where you have those, they're like just little nuggets of like inspiration or support or someone seeing something in you and just affirmation almost, I suppose. And, you know, I still remember things that happened literally the week after I joined drum club. I overheard one of the teachers talking about how it had been and them specifically mentioning me and Cherisse and saying, yeah, they've got something actually, like that's different. And I was like, oh my God, I wasn't meant to hear this, but I was like, oh my God, I feel I could be good at this. Someone else is seeing that. That's amazing to me. And then down the line, things still happen to me that I go, you know, oh, maybe I am doing the right thing, you know, by just those little moments of maybe when you doubt yourself or whatever. I think they're so important. And I equally try and give those to other people. Also, if I see something in someone, I have no worries about just being like, look, there's something there. If you pursue it, brilliant. Like, no pressure or anything. Like, oh, you must do this. You know? But
no,
I think
it's great.
important.
It is. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's important to pass those things on, those like serendipitous moments and those, I sometimes call them film moments, where if it happened in a film, you'd go, oh, that wouldn't happen in real life. But then it's actually happened in your life and you're going, wow, I can't believe those two things have aligned. And then
It's
that's
so
led to
true.
something further on. Yeah, so you grew up with Cherisse, going on the same schools, and your sort of career trajectories have like gone together from those early days, haven't they?
Yeah, pretty much. So we started out, like I say, in this drum club, and then we would go into school an hour before school, an hour at lunch, an hour after school. And we would just practice and practice and practice and be like just bouncing off each other ideas and, you know, different music that we'd heard. We'd both been brought up on quite different styles of music, so we sort of would educate each other on that, and it just kind of went from there. And like you say, and then we sort of started having our own journeys, which was a terrifying thing at the time, because we were literally known as the girls. We were joined at the hip essentially, and to have to go out and be our own entity was quite not a shocking thing, but it was hard, and it was just like, oh my gosh. And of course, you know, we would be on the other end of a phone if we needed support, but to be known as just Emily Dolan Davies, just Cherisse Osei was just like, okay, yeah, all right, we're not the girls anymore. This is weird. All right, cool. Let's do this.
Or maybe you're still the girls, but you're like, you're not so physically close, but I guess you still retain that, you know, closeness. And maybe when things went really well, you could talk to each other about it. When things went really badly, you could phone each other up. And it must have been amazing, really. You're sort of having this dual experience, almost like sisterly experience.
Absolutely, yeah. We often say we're sisters from another mister, and our families are certainly like each other's families. And just to have that support, I think, is difficult for anyone picking up any instrument at any time, especially in school. I mean, of all times to be doing something not normal, whatever normal means, you know, we were prime targets for like kids just being like, oh, what are you trying to be a drummer? What are you, a bloke? Just, you know, kids are mean, it happens. But to have someone there next to you to be like, look, it's okay. It's going to be fine. We're doing this. It's going to be awesome. Like, we'll show them, sort of thing. And that's what we were for each other. When one was down, the other one would be there to pick them up and just be like, we're doing this. And we kind of have.
Nice, yeah. The first person I interviewed, Cheryl Panero, she's a bassist.
Oh, yeah.
And the first thing her dad said to her when she was like, I want to play bass, he was like, oh no, that's for a boy, you don't want to be playing bass. Look at the size of your hands, you're not going to be able to play bass.
Do you want to know what my dad said to me? He said, well, if you want to play the drums, you better learn to hit them hard, because no one's going to take you seriously if you don't. So yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But she just went, was she just like, nope?
I think that just propelled her further into it, just like, I'm going to defy all these things.
Yeah.
And I think I've certainly experienced, you know, sort of like people saying I'm feminine or in doing something, you know, we've all experienced something, and like, yeah, those people can actually help you, propel you towards greatness.
Totally. I think if you can turn around those sorts of comments and use them as fuel, if you can like teach yourself a way to do that, that is just the most invaluable thing. And it's something that for years I wasn't able to do. Like before I started playing drums, I mean, we were talking earlier, I used to play a lot of football when I was a kid. That was what I wanted to do. And equally, I would get similar sort of like comments, oh, you're such a tomboy. And that young, I just didn't know what to do. I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to turn this around. And I just didn't know how to use it to my advantage. Whereas, you know, I remember distinctly one kid saying to me, oh, what, do you think you're going to be on Top of the Pops or something? And I was just like, yeah, actually, well, now I am, because you just said that. Unfortunately, Top of the Pops finished before I could kind of get there, but, you know, equivalent of or whatever.
The equivalent of, yeah, exactly. I remember playing a gig one time and we were just in a pub somewhere in Cardiff, and someone was like, oh, you're never going to make it to the band. And our lead singer just gave this guy such an amazing load of abuse. I was like, fuck yeah. Like, that guy was silent. Like, he was silent. Brilliant. Like, he just sort of just some random in a pub who was just maybe putting everyone down around him, you know. Those people are just... It
often says more about them than it does about
100%,
you.
Isn't it? It's their
as well, if you keep that...
Definitely.
Keep that in your head, it kind of makes it easier to take, and it's just like, actually, for you to say that to sometimes a complete stranger, there must be something that you're very unhappy about, and actually... Not I feel sorry for you, but I hope you get that sorted, because life can be good. Do you know what I mean? If you just, I don't know, if you just look at it right and do the right things.
Exactly. That's so cool. And yeah, you have projected into the stratosphere.
I love that, because from the outside it might seem like that, but I still don't feel like that. I'm just like, I'm just still some idiot that's trying stuff and hoping for the best, and I'm getting to hit things for a living, and no one's stopped me yet. So that's awesome. No, I'm just gonna have to keep going.
No one's physically pulled me away and got me to stop. That's brilliant, because that is exactly how I feel at the moment about my career and about my sort of involvement in the music industry. Is like, I don't know anything. I just see the more I go on, the less I'm like confident about my skills. I'm like, what do I actually do?
Yeah,
you know?
But you know what? So, I feel like at least 99% of every musician I've ever spoken to feels pretty much the same way. And even if they say they're not, they probably are. They're just trying to put on a bit of a front about it. But we're all emotional, very vulnerable humans. I mean, just humans generally are. But, you know, creatives are incredibly vulnerable to those kinds of feelings of like, am I getting away with this? I think I'm getting away with this. Someone's going to catch me. So yeah, you're not alone feeling like that. I feel like that all the time, literally every day. I'm
really?
Like, oh God, yeah. But I just think, okay, but maybe I'll just try this thing, and you know, maybe if, say, someone did see me doing something, putting out a video of me drumming, whatever, if they go, oh, she's not even that good, I'm better than her, I could do that, my response to that is, great, do it.
Brilliant.
Like, if that inspires you in such a way, then I've done my job, because that's what I love. I love to be able to make people feel like they can do what they want to do, because you can. You know what I mean? I'm living proof. I'm just some girl from North London. That's it. And I just fell in love with something and went with it, and just became obsessed, obviously, but you know, it's sort of led here, and I'm very happy about that.
Brilliant. Yeah, and you are an amazing drummer. You know, the people that you've worked with is I mean, Bryan Ferry, you've worked with The Darkness, Tricky, lots of huge people that, you know, they must reinforce the idea that you're pretty bloody good at playing the drums.
You'd think it would, wouldn't you? It's just one. Yeah, I mean, I guess I do look back and I know how incredibly lucky I am. And sometimes I do need to sit myself down and go, right, Emily, stop feeling all like insecure. Look at the evidence. You've been doing this long enough and with enough people that you must be at least a little bit okay. And I can live with that. I'm like, all right, a little bit okay. But it's also nice knowing that you can always be better, and striving for that is amazing. And to do something that is boundless, because music is, you know, there's no end goal. In fact, I'll tell you a funny story. So someone I went to school with, I hadn't seen for about, 10 years or something. I ran into him and he'd started playing bass when I'd last seen him. And I was like, oh, how you doing? Like, are you still playing bass? Like, what are you up to? What are you learning at the moment? And he said, yeah, my bass play is going really well, actually. Yeah, I learnt it all. And I was like, what? Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, okay. I had to leave. I was like, okay, well, look, it's lovely to see you. I've got to run. I can't even enter into this conversation. You've learnt it all. What do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
That's what I was going to say about the, really successful people is there's always space to learn. There's always like a growth happening, isn't there? Even with the biggest producers that I've worked with, they're passing on knowledge at all times. They're making sure you're growing, nurturing you, but they're also learning themselves. They're keeping up to date with the latest trends and stuff.
Absolutely.
So to come along and say like, 100% complete.
Yeah, I completed the game. It was like, okay.
No cheats.
Yeah, I didn't even have to use any cheat codes. Oh my God, so funny.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting attitude, isn't it?
Yeah.
To be like, oh, it's a closed book now. That's done.
Yeah.
But yeah, the people who are really successful are always growing and
striving.
I think you mentioned there's a few things you mentioned that sort of quite philosophical things really, but like life. Where is it about life? We're in a continual state of change, aren't we?
Oh yeah,
like all the time,
constantly, and it can be a beautiful thing. It can be devastating, but at any one time, even if it is devastating and you're going through a rough time, you can have solace in that this is going to change too. And equally, when you're in a real high or in a great place, to really appreciate that moment, because it will change. Not to say that everything will fall apart, but I've had my fair share of really dark times. And I'm in such an amazing headspace at the moment. And part of that is from remembering how I did feel before and just really appreciating and enjoying the place in my life that I am right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that I'd never go back to that other place. Who knows? It's life. I could get hit by a bus today. So that would be that. But the point is, I think you need that contrast. Unfortunately, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And although, as I say, it can be devastating with obviously some horrendous consequences in some people's cases, it can also be a strange kind of silver lining point of reference.
Definitely.
Type thing.
I think you harness the power of those dark times. Like the example I always say to people is like DJing. So I've DJed to literally an empty room.
I
playing
played to
like
an
the
empty
back room in a club,
yeah.
and there's literally just me and no one listening to the records that I think are like really amazing.
Yeah.
But then conversely, like maybe 6 months down the line, I've been playing in a main room and had like everyone going for it, and drawn from that. I remember that time when there was no one dancing.
Yeah.
Look what's happened now. So yeah, you draw. I think you're right. You need to have those dynamics in order to
appreciate,
really feel it and appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate where you are. And it's funny. There's two things that you said that struck a chord with me when you said about if you imagine your life as a film, it's those moments where the room is empty that I just think this is going to be one of those moments that I go, yes, I'm playing in front of, 10,000 people. Aha! But last week I was playing to 3 people in a club and it was the bar staff. So they weren't even paying to be there. And often the times that I feel the luckiest, which probably sounds bizarre, is when I'm playing to a room full of nobody. And I can, again, there's moments that I can pinpoint particular gigs. There was a gig in Hammersmith called The Puzzle, and it was literally like 3 or 4 people and they were very drunk, and it was like 3 PM on a Sunday, and I just was sitting there playing and I was going, do you know what? I'm so lucky I get to do this. Yes, there's only 3 or 4 people here, but do you know what? They're having a great time, and we're, as a band, we are creating that for them. I don't care that it's only 4 people. I care that those 4 people care.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And you're making that connection.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Making that connection. And weirdly, that was my early experience of really understanding about how to make a crowd move with the way that you play and energy and stuff like that. And my theory was, if I can make these 4 people move, then that will translate, because things, people catch on to stuff like that. So
Definitely.
all you got to get is 4 people moving in a crowd, and soon that'll emanate and it becomes 1,000, 10,000 people moving. I don't know if there's any science behind that. I don't know if there's any logic behind that, but it's just where my head went. And I thought, right, great, this is the beginning of that. And whether it happened by chance, but that is certainly when I started learning about how to sort of bring energy to a crowd and experience. And yeah, so it was a good thing. But like I say, I can pinpoint that time that happened, and it was because there was no one in the room.
But awesome that you sort of used that as like a learning experience, and like focusing your energy on, okay, I can do something. Let's try and, you know,
make something.
Yeah, let's make something happen here that can probably be transferable to when there's loads of people. That's a really great way of looking at it.
I'm a sucker for a challenge, even if it's my own personal challenge. I'm just like, right, in the same way we were saying about turning around negative comments into fuel, it's just like, okay, how can I make the best of this? Because I could easily look at it and go, this is the worst thing ever, this is rubbish, why am I here?
Yeah.
Or it can be like, cool, all right, what can I do to grow here? What can I do to make this better or the best it can be? And
absolutely.
I try to bring that to every situation I can, especially if I catch myself feeling a bit negative about a situation. I'll be like, oh, no, switch that around, because that doesn't help anyone.
Yeah, I think you can always do that. You can always turn around. Like, for example, in moments, I was listening to sort of a speaker talking about when there's moments in your life where like people aren't calling you up and you're at home by yourself and you think, what's going on in the world? And he's like, that moment has been chosen for you to focus on yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and to learn to like love yourself and spend time with yourself and appreciate it. That moment's been selected for that to happen. So use that time, and yeah, like you said earlier, like, you know, that's a transient moment that will change. You know, it will get better.
Yeah.
But you can use those really bad moments as like, you know, like a time to grow and to maybe focus on yourself a little bit. And have, you know. Yeah.
Can I just say, I wish I'd have heard that like 10 years ago, because especially this time of year, January. Because nobody really works in the music industry in January. Not really. Like, you don't really go on tours in January, apart from maybe Australia. But it's just, it was always a very quiet time of the year. And it always just made me so uncomfortable. And I was like, oh my God, like, that's it. My career's over. Nobody's calling. Well, that's the end of that. But if I'd have looked at it like that back in the day and just been like, okay, this is time for me to relax or recoup, or to, you know, like you say, grow in other ways and look at myself, that would have been a lot more beneficial. So I wish I'd have heard that. That would have helped me.
Yeah, oh, good. That's good. Yeah. It really helped me. I only heard it a few weeks ago and I was like, wow, yeah, that really makes sense.
Deep.
Like, the universe has chosen this moment for me to focus on myself, because I can't control it when everyone's calling me, and I've got loads of stuff to do. Can't control that. So let's enjoy this one.
Yeah. I think that's it, sort of releasing control. Because, I mean, I don't know about you.
Yeah.
I'm a control freak. I find a lot of musicians, creatives, generally are. For whatever reason, can be quite controlling when it comes to our instrument or our craft or whatever. So to be able to relinquish control when it comes to, like, the universe opening up situations for you and just going, look, this thing is going to happen or whatever, but let's just go with it and make the best of it. And if that is, my diary is empty for a month, now I'm like, oh, that's amazing. That's just the best thing ever. So for me, it means I can concentrate on studio stuff or getting some skills together that I've been wanting to do, or, you know, there's any number of things that I could be working on at one time. Hardest things I've had to do, but one of the most empowering things recently is like allowing myself to say no to projects or to possible situations. And before, like growing up, I just said yes to everything. Like, it was just the way it was. It was, you know, and it was the right thing to do at the time, absolutely, because it was just about getting my name out there, playing with as many people as I could so that I could do this professionally and just create a base of people, musicians that I knew and had played with. Whereas now it's kind of like I feel like I have choice, which is a wonderful thing, but it's hard. It's really hard when you have choice, and it's like, you know, it's not about making the right decision, because I don't believe that the right decision exists. I believe you make it the right decision by what you decide. But it can be quite challenging, and especially if you're potentially letting down other people. I struggle with that massively. Like, if I feel like I'm letting someone down, it's just like, that is one of the worst things, because I do try and pride myself on being reliable. Well, hopefully. But yeah, it's a funny thing how things change like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, I agree in terms of being able to turn things down and turn projects down, or turn down offers. Like, I think, yeah, when you're young, you just got to go, yeah, I'll do it, and basically take yourself and your own, like, I don't know, headspace out of the equation. Go, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, and then deal with it.
Look at it and go, oh, no.
That's it. Say yes, deal with it later.
It's nice to be able to look at projects and go, I don't have the time for that. I would really love to, perhaps another time.
Yeah, it's kind of questioning, is this the best thing for me? Which, you know, it's definitely a shift in how you're thinking about it. Well, for me, it was definitely a shift, because, you know, my well-being, my health, mental health and physical health was the last thing on my list. Same with, like, personal relationships, last thing on my list. It was like, I just want to be out there playing music. That's it. Everything else is secondary. But consequently, that meant that, you know, I would get sick, and, you know, I would be completely burnt out, which ironically would mean that I wouldn't do probably as good a job as I could on the things I was doing.
Yeah,
and I certainly wasn't
thing,
concentrating on them. And I wasn't, you know, it wasn't about being in this moment right now, you know, whatever it was, in this rehearsal right now with these 3 other people. It wasn't about that. It was clock watching until, right, well, this rehearsal's going to be over in 3 hours, and then I've got to get in my car, and then I've got to go and pick up my drums, then I've got to go and play a gig, and then at the gig, only half an hour left, and then I get to go home. And it was just like this perpetual thing of the next, and not actually appreciating what was happening right then and there. And those moments did come occasionally when I was just like, oh no, you know, in the empty room situation, where I was like, I'm really lucky to be doing this, but of course, you know, what a strange time to suddenly be in the moment. And but, you know, now I really try and give myself space to be able to enjoy everything that I do. And, you know, I don't overcrowd my head, my diary, my life. I try and just, you know, allow myself to have that time and that space. And I think that's such a massive thing, to allow yourself that, because we all feel we should be doing more all the time.
Definitely.
And I'm like that.
And there's a lot of pressure in the modern world to keep up with stuff and do lots of things.
Yeah.
And I was listening to someone talk the other day on the radio about how we've definitely got more free time than people, like, say, in the Victorian times.
Yeah.
But we all feel like we're really busy all the time, and we actually feel like we've got barely no free time, because you can access work emails lying in bed at 11:30 at night. You can, so it's an interesting time. So
it's a blessing and a curse.
yeah,
it is
but
good.
Definitely good to be able to say no to things, and therefore give your all to the projects that require your focus and need your focus.
That's it.
For sure.
At least what I try. I mean, you know, nobody's perfect. I certainly am not. So.
Oh, God, no. And everything, we're still, I mean, we'll never get it all right.
No.
We never get it all right.
You can but try.
Yeah. You said that sort of playing the drums is like sort of heals you and has like a meditative element.
Yeah.
Did you find that from the beginning? Is that what drew you to it?
I think at the beginning, no. At the beginning, it was the challenge of it. And, like, as I say, when I very first started, every day was just this new thing that I couldn't do, and then I could do it. And it was like this perpetual state of wonderment and overcoming like obstacles, and just, oh yeah, I can't quite do that. Oh, now I can. And, you know, it was just amazing, this amazing period of time, which then became sort of like, okay, I can play to a level. And then it was, okay, I want to do this professionally. And it became something different. But more recently, it's funny, so that meditative thing, the first time I heard about that, someone speaking about it, because I'd never heard about it before, was this from this drummer called Andy Newmark. He played with Bryan Ferry for years. He also used to play with Sly and the Family Stone. He's an incredible, incredible drummer. And I saw him in a clinic maybe 15 years ago, something like that. And all his clinic was, and I love him for this, was just him playing grooves. And to do that in front of a room full of drummers is pretty amazing and takes a lot of guts. And I was just instantly, I love this guy. He is my hero. So he was just playing these grooves just unbelievably. And he started talking about, you know, actually, I feel like this is very, like, this heals me. If I'm feeling bad or whatever, I'll just come and I'll play, and everything will be a little bit better after I've done that. And at the time I was like, that's a nice idea, whatever, kind of forgot about it. And then more recently, I kind of understand it now, because I don't really know how to explain it, but I guess it's because you're doing something that is so second nature to you now that you can just let go and just be in that moment, or not, or just, let your mind wander or whatever it needs to be. But just, it's almost like a centering thing. Like, no matter what's going on, all the madness. And actually, I've had this for probably the whole of my drumming life. As we were saying before, things happen in life. Chaos ensues. You don't know what's going on. But the one thing that always remained constant were the drums for me. And I knew that no matter what was happening, I could come back to the drums, and I knew where I was at. And that was because, and it made sense to me. That was the other thing. I put in the work and I saw results. And it was just logical. There was no outside influence that kind of would change anything. It was just constant. So I would always come back to the drums whenever I was feeling, in school, getting bullied, nightmare. All right, well, I'm going to go practice. And I would instantly feel better, because it was like, actually, this is what's important to me, and this makes sense, and therefore I'm sticking to this because of that. And like I say, it still feels like that now. It's kind of like, right, I get overwhelmed still. I do say yes to too many projects sometimes, but I just think, okay, but if I can come back to this and it's good to me, as it always has been, then everything will be fine. And like I say, like it's ridiculous, silly moments in gigs, in pubs, where I literally look at my drums and I start welling up, because I'm like, we've been through so much together. Oh, thank you for being there for me. That sort of, it's silly, but it's such a powerful pull for me, and a constant in a world of madness that's constantly changing, and it just makes me be able to deal with it, to be honest, to deal with life, and to be able to have that thing to come back to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you must have an incredibly strong bond to your drums.
Yeah,
I think also the time taken to set up and to get everything exactly right, like you said about having a bit of OCD about getting it all right, like all of that is, a guitarist just sort of opens the box, picks the guitar up, plugs it in, right, tunes up maybe. But you really have to refine your setup, and it has to be, I've seen drummers like literally moving things like 2 millimeters to be, no, that's not right.
Yeah,
I feel that's not right.
Quite exact. I try to be quite, I try to be quite relaxed with positioning and stuff. I am compared to some drummers, I'm not compared to others, but I also do like to bring a little bit of the chaos element to my playing, in that I will set things up roughly, and as long as I can reach everything and it's not hurting me physically, I'm like, cool, this is how I'm going to play today. And it will make me play slightly differently, which sometimes is good, sometimes is not good at all, and I'm halfway through a gig and I'm like, why did I not just move it like 2 millimeters to the left, and I'd be able to play this more naturally. But it's a funny thing.
That's cool. That's nice, isn't it? Because you're sort of making a slightly changeable experience for yourself.
Exactly.
That means you could probably sit down on any kit, and as long as it's vaguely in the right place.
Exactly. I try to be like that.
Like I said before, I don't know anything about drums really. I'm very much
that makes me happy.
There's the big one there. There's the shiny ones, and there's the others.
Yep, they all make a noise. That's all that matters. That's all I care about. Does it make a noise when I hit it? Yes, great, I'm in. So don't you worry. Like I said to you before, I'm quite happy that you don't know a lot about drums, because you might start talking to me about ply of shells and stuff, and I'll be sitting there going, I have no idea. I just bought it because I like the sound of it.
Yeah, it's big and round.
Yeah, it makes a sound.
And has your kit changed over the years? How's the kit evolved for you?
Do you know what? That's interesting you ask. My kit setup has not really changed since. I mean, when I very first started, it was a very standard 2 rack toms, 1 floor tom. The kit that I've got in the room with us now has got only 1 rack tom and 1 floor tom, so there would be another one next to there, which is a very standard sort of when you're starting out to learn on. And then I decided to get rid of one of the toms because I've always had this thing of less is more. I think the drummers that always impressed me were the ones that didn't have much but made it sound incredible. Also, it meant that the ride could be, so that big cymbal on our left there is so that could be in a nice place so it didn't hurt me, because I had a lot of shoulder problems when I was younger.
Yep.
That they would just seize up and I wouldn't be able to play. It was an absolute nightmare, and I still have slight issues with it if it's not in the right sort of place. So that sort of thing I won't sort of mess with too much to make sure that I'm relaxed when I'm playing. But aside from that, it hasn't really changed. The only thing that changes is dependent on the gig that I'm playing. So, for instance, with Kim Wilde at the moment, I have quite a lot of electronics because it's a double drummer gig. So there's Johnny Atkinson, who has been with her for the last 15 years. So he's like the main drummer, the mainstay. He has a kit similar to what I have. And then I sort of like came into the equation a couple of years ago and brought a lot of the electronic elements and the percussive elements to it. So I still have the two toms, but instead of a snare drum, I have an electronic snare, and then I have extra pads dotted around the place. So depending on the gig, but the mainstay of the kit is always the same for me because it just makes me feel comfortable, and then I know where I'm at, and then anything else supplemented is kind of like, oh, okay, well, this is fun, like a little extra thing here, a little extra thing there. But I'm definitely a person of habit. I'm quite habitual, just generally in life, actually. So it makes sense that I wouldn't change my kit around too much. I wouldn't know where to hit. I'd just be like, what is this extra thing over here? So I don't like to confuse myself too much. Life doesn't need to be as complicated as all that sometimes.
Exactly. I think, definitely keeping things simple in like most of the things in life is a good way to do it, like limiting yourself in some way. But I did want to ask you about the two drummers thing.
Yeah.
Because it's a really funny one, isn't it? I saw a band called the OCs. Do you know the OCs?
No, I don't.
Great, really, really amazing rock band.
Oh, amazing.
And they had two drummers, and the sound of it was it's phenomenal. Like, but also the sort of the synchronized element to playing the two beats it's quite a captivating thing. I think the way that they were set up was that the two drummers were like slap bang in the middle, with like guitar and bass either side.
Oh, nice.
So it was like symmetry, but it was almost like the center stage really was the fact there were two drummers.
Yeah.
So how do you approach that?
Well, it's so weirdly, I don't know why, but I've been in quite a few bands with two drummers for some reason. So the first one I was in was a band called The Hours, who we did stuff I did stuff with them in 2008, 2009, and that was a double drummer thing, but I was stood up, but with toms and stuff. So it wasn't, it looked like a percussionist role, but it was with a kit. So that was quite weird. But luckily, a lot of the tracks on their albums had double track drums anyway, so there were parts to play. With things like the Kim Wilde thing, because it's a lot of 80s stuff, there's a lot of electronic sounds, percussion, stuff like that. So basically, Johnny, who, as I said, had been there for 15 years, basically said to me, well, because he's similar to me, he loves just playing grooves and like just getting into it. And I mean, for me and him, that is the gold mine. Just being able to sit on a groove for a whole song is perfect. And he just said to me, well, why don't you take all those electronic things and you can just take all the fills as well, and then I can just sit and play time. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. So I just came in and picked up all the bits that weren't being played because he couldn't physically play them, or the bits that he was like, I don't want to play that. Do you want to play that? I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll play that. So, it's it was a very fluid process. I mean, he's a very good friend of mine anyway. We've known each other for a good over 10 years. And I'm sure that in some situations it might be difficult if you're dealing with a drummer who's maybe a bit insecure or has a bit of an ego or whatever. That can be quite difficult because then you feel like you're fighting the person to just, and for me, I'm not a fighter. I'm like, look, if you want to be centre stage and I'm your like backup or whatever, that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. That's fine. But me and Johnny are just like, if anything, we're trying to make each other play more.
You like, move your kit forward.
Yeah, no, it really is like that. It's like, well, could you, we'll be in the middle of songs on stage playing, and like there's particular parts of the set where we haven't quite solidified who's playing what, like fills wise, and it will just be like both of us shouting at each other, going, "You play this one? No, go on, you do it." And I don't want to do it. No, go on, do it. And like the other one will play a fill, and like I'll be like, "That was amazing!" and just like screaming at each other. I mean, it's such a fun gig to do. It's so much fun. And we'd played with Howard Jones as well a couple of years prior. That was more of, for me, more of a, well, it was fully electronic, but it was more of a percussive setup, and then like using Simmons pads and things like that.
Nice.
But that was me basically jumping around. I was a glorified hype man that played some percussion, but it was just jumping around and energy. It was so much fun. And then Johnny was on this massive electronic kit rig, and some really great shows there as well. So it's just bringing the fun to it as well, I think, and the energy. And you realise that it's not always just about the drumming, especially on a live show. It's different maybe in the studio because, you know, you are literally tracking drums. They're not there to see you track drums. It's the end result. It's the end product. It's just that. But on stage, there's so much more than just the playing that goes into it. And I think if you sort of like realise that and embrace that, if you want to embrace it, because some people don't, and that's totally fine, like each to their own. But if it's something that you can embrace and start to enjoy, which is what I started doing, especially with Howard, because before I'd be very reluctant to play a gig on percussion. It's my own hang up. I just have this thing about, I am a drummer, I am not a percussionist. It stems from when I was very young. But with that, I was like, do you know what, actually, I think it would be fun. And that kind of overrode any insecurity that I had. And I was just like, no, this is going to be great. And it was so much fun. I mean, I had people coming up to me after shows going, oh, I really loved your toy drum kit. They thought it was a toy. And I was just like, do you know what? I don't care. I'm having such a laugh with these people. And the songs are great. The people are brilliant, and the audiences were amazing. So you can't lose, really.
Yeah, and it's all in the same ballpark.
It's all hitting things with sticks.
Hitting things, making loud noises.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I've forgotten what I was going to say again. That was it. The drumming fraternity. Yeah. So you talked about having like a really good friendship with, was it Andy? You said
Johnny.
Johnny. Sorry. With Johnny. So yeah, you said about the drumming fraternity is an interesting one, isn't it? Because drummers are very supportive of each other.
Yeah.
Being like the foundation of the band, or being like the root of the sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Why do you think?
So in terms of, well, first of all, the drumming fraternity, the drumming community is like the best thing on the planet. They've like the drumming community as a whole, and when I say that, I'm talking about thousands of drummers probably, have been such an amazing support to me, to Cherisse, to everyone that I know, to each other. You know, it's just like this really big, dysfunctional, crazy family. And I always joke that, you know, drummers love each other because no one else wants to be their friends, but we genuinely love each other. Like you see any drummer anywhere in the world, even if you don't know them, and you could happily just go up and throw your arms around them and be like, we're family because we're both drummers. I mean, it's a very strange and wonderful bond that I don't think, not that I've seen, I don't think guitarists have it with each other. I don't think maybe bass players, but yeah, drummers just, in fact, so we were talking earlier in the car, but so I was saying to you about meeting Taylor Hawkins, right? I met him very recently, and I kind of freaked out slightly, and I didn't anticipate that happening, but I hadn't spoken to him. I was like, I'm feeling weird about this is weird. And then I just thought, right, I'm gonna, like, we both play the same cymbal company, so I just thought, right, if I happen to run into him for a conversation, let me lead with, hey, we're both Zildjian family. And I did literally that because I was so, for some reason, freaked out. And instantly he was like, hey, how you doing? And we had just the loveliest conversation. And it was off the back of, I'm a drummer, you're a drummer, cool, that means we're family. And it's just brilliant. And that is something that has been a mainstay throughout since I was 13 years old and went to my first drum show with Cherisse, and we went around as the girls and just accosted everybody and just said, we want to do this professionally, how do we do it? And everyone, without exception, was so open and just wanting to help, and maybe could see that same spark that they had as a kid, wanting to do it and just wanted to help. And, you know, to this day, I still email drummers if I'm sort of like feeling a bit weird or if I need some help with something. I will absolutely email them, I'm freaking out. And they'll be like, totally normal, it's fine, I went through that, it's cool. And just to know that and know that you have that support is amazing. So that's
amazing.
really good.
And I think it's a rare thing.
Yeah.
It sort of reminds me a little bit of, you know, when people have got like they've got minis and they like wave to the people in minis going past. It's a little bit like that, isn't it?
Totally. It's so similar.
You're like, you've got that connection. I don't know whether it's from the knowledge that you've had to go to gigs in pubs and set up your kit and take it down.
That's interesting
and put it in
you
the
say.
car. Like you've all had you sharing the fact that I know what you've had to do.
Exactly.
And I know what you've had to do.
think
I've had to do
that's
that too, even though I'm like, you know, even though maybe
we've all
that
taken
shared.
that same experience because, as you say, like we've all been there, packing down your kit at 3 a.m. and then driving for 4 hours to get home, loading it out, going to bed for a couple of hours, getting in the car and going to another gig. And it's like this unspoken respect for each other. It's just like, wow, you're as crazy as I am. Yeah, you love this as much as I do. Cool. Like, I'm here for you. You say, I think I hadn't thought of it like that actually until you just said that. But I think there is this sort of like unwritten sort of rule or code, or I don't know, just like understanding that yes, we're all a bit mad here, but we love each other, so it's fine. And
yeah, I honestly feel bad. I play in a band and I play keys, and sometimes
keys
I'm
is
just
hard
playing
though.
Sometimes I'm just playing 1 or 2 notes with like a single thing.
Yeah,
I'm
but
not
keys are heavy.
high tech.
Keys are heavy to lift.
What the drums do. Oh my god, sweating.
Oh,
just like
yeah, but okay.
around, and I'm not going.
Okay, but let's talk about that, right? So let's think about it in a different way. Drummers. There's a drum, I hit it, I know what sound comes out. We were talking earlier about synths. Synths scare the bejesus out of me because you have so many knobs and stuff to twiddle that like create all these crazy sounds, and you seem to know what each one of those knobs do. I look at a synth, it can be probably a really simple synth to you. To me, I'm like, nope, not even touching it, don't even understand it. And maybe once in a blue moon I'll feel brave and go, all right, let me just see what this does. And instantly I'm like, doesn't make sense. Like that, moving that, there's no physical relation to me to what happens. I can't get my head around it. In a similar way to with me with guitar, I couldn't understand that. And obviously that's a much lower level of that sort of like, I don't know if it's multiple input sensory overload or I don't know what it is for me, but it just doesn't work. So I have massive respect for all the, forget about on stage that you're saying. What about all the hours and hours of programming and creating sounds and all of that? The amount of respect that I have for you for doing that is beyond. So, we all have our time that goes into what we do. It's just in different ways. Also, keys are heavy to lift. Keyboards are heavy.
Oh, MIDI control. Well, if you've got a synth and a MIDI control,
oh, okay, that's slightly different.
It's fine. No, well, thank you for that. I do. Yeah, I think you're right, and maybe I hadn't quite thought about like the hours, weeks, months, years spent learning what's going on. And I think maybe that's what drove me to learn synths, is exactly what you had when you look at it and go, oh my God, what to do? And you press one key or do something, you go, oh, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
That sounds absolutely terrible. I hope nobody heard it. And someone's heard it. You're like, oh, bye. Yeah, it wasn't me. So I think it's the desire to, I want to make that sound good.
Yeah, or you have a sound in your head. Yeah, I mean, I honestly, so I was just in rehearsals recently and there were 2 keys players who are both exceptional musicians, like exceptional. And the way that they would just manipulate sounds like it was absolutely nothing. I was just sat there like, I'm kind of in awe of you guys, but I kind of need to like keep myself together because I might get a bit gushy, which I totally did, and I'm sure I freaked them out, but I don't care. And they even play these games where they're like, right, one of the other band members has to say a random sound that they have to try and create.
Wow,
like the
that's
sound
cool.
of, I don't know, scissors cutting, or I don't know, something around. I wasn't very good at it. I was new to the situation, so I was like, guys, I'm gonna have to sit back and watch you do it because I don't understand. I think I came in with didgeridoo once, which went down well, but they were just both like these mad scientists, and then they were and I was like, my god, like I loved it. It's so interesting to watch people work. Like, it's amazing.
Have you ever done stuff with? Have you ever played like hang drum or anything like that?
No,
I
haven't.
A crossover between the percussive and melodic stuff.
Yeah, no, I haven't. I would love to, but the opportunity just hasn't come up yet. But I'm sure that at some point I will. But again, as soon as melody gets involved, I kind of freak out a little bit. It's like when I know people that are trained in tuned percussion, instantly I'm like, oh god, no, like you're like a super being. I can't have a conversation with you. So yeah, it's a funny thing. Melody just freaks me out, which is funny because I love songs. Songs is my thing. Like, I just forget about the drums. I love playing songs. It's so it's quite funny that anyone that knows about melody freaks me out slightly.
Yeah, well, I think definitely the same for me. Prior to looking at a keyboard and sort of learning the theory behind it, it does look like, oh god, what the hell, and you can make it sound terrible. Like, oh no, not doing that again. But the hang drum's good because it's all in key. You can't play a wrong note.
See, that's my kind of drum.
And then if you've got rhythm, it can sound so beautiful, and it's obviously like velocity sensitive to how hard you hit it.
Yeah,
it's a really beautiful sound.
Maybe I should get older one and just have a go. And
honestly, I think you'd really love it.
Wait, so technically you would need more than one then to change keys. So would you need one in every key? Do I need to get another garage to store some hang drums? Is that what you're telling me?
Get one and
see how you go.
Then, but they just sound really beautiful and melodic. And I wanted to know whether it's similarly with electronic kits. I'm sure that could be triggering something melodic, and you could have that
definitely.
all working.
But again, that's a very strange thing because even on the Kim thing, every song is different. Therefore, every time I hit a pad, there's something different on it, and I still struggle with remembering what I've programmed on which pad, because to me it's a pad, it should make a sound, like one sound, that's it. And obviously it doesn't. So yeah, there's something about this very Neanderthal way of just going, here is a drum, hit the drum, it will sound like a drum. I like
big
that.
Drum.
Yeah, that's literally the base level that I'm working at. So I still struggle slightly. I mean, struggle is a strong word. I sometimes need to think about what I'm about to hit and go, I sometimes have a split second of, oh god, is it on this pad, or is this right? 90% of the time I'm right, and when I'm not, I have Jonathan Atkinson basically laughing at me, which is all good and fine.
That's brilliant. And I'm sure you're the only person that noticed, though you two people are the only one that even noticed that.
Usually, yeah. It's very rare when someone else does, and if they do, then it's like, hang my head in shame.
I think it's really admirable the way, sort of rewinding a bit now, but it's really admirable in a way when you started out that you were eager to work with anyone and everyone, whether it be paid or unpaid.
Absolutely.
Or even you said that you were paying to do it. Like, I think that's such an amazing attitude to get where you want to be.
Yeah.
You mentioned the website Loot, which I'd totally forgotten about.
Loot was where I joined my very first ever band. So that was a heavy metal band called Primacy. I was 14, and I had to me, as a 14-year-old, I thought it was perfectly natural for me to ring up a bunch of 25-year-olds or 23-year-olds and go, yeah, can I come join your band? And I just went down to this random audition with these guys, and they were lovely, and I didn't even know it was heavy metal music. I just was turned up, and they said, should we just start playing? So I was like, yeah, and I'll play along. And so I did that, and they were like, yeah, that was really good. Like, should we do another one? And I'm like, yeah, okay, great. Like, I had no idea what I was doing, really. I was just playing. But that was to be fair, in school, I was still playing with everyone that I could. Me and Cherisse were actually. We were very lucky that we had a very good music department who would put on shows for the school twice a year, and every single act that was on that show we would try and play with, equally with all the GCSE students and the A-level students. We would play. If they needed a drummer, it would be like, we'll play for you. So we were already playing with a lot of people and doing a lot of different styles of music. Some people were doing Beatles stuff, some people were doing Iranian music. One guy was doing a sword dance, so we had to do like something to go with that. Wow. And I guess we got used to playing with lots of different people and then just transferred it to out of school. And the way that so I'm so lucky to have the most supportive parents in the world, but you know, they both come from quite creative backgrounds. My mum wanted to be an artist, but that wasn't a thing back in the day. So she was a nurse, but she was always very artistic, still is very artistic, actually. Mm-hmm. My dad, as I said, played guitar. He played in covers bands, and whilst studying aeronautics randomly, but he again was told, well, you can't do that for a living, but ended up in the film industry and the TV industry. So they both knew, but my dad especially knew that, you know, there is going to be a period of time that you need to invest in what you're doing. If you want to do this, you're going to have to do it all the time, and just, it's not about the money. You need to do it because you love it, which he knew at the time and I didn't, is that things will get hard. Things always get hard. And if you still want to be doing it when those times are tough, when you have no money in the bank, when you are literally scrounging around to pay your rent or even just to buy a bit of food, and I've been there multiple times, if you still at the end of that don't go, maybe I should just go work in Tesco's or whatever, then you probably should be doing it. And I think that early lesson of like, no, you should not be taking on things to be paid. That is not how you see this. It needs to be for passion. You need to do it because you want to get better, because you want to be playing. That's it. That's the bottom line. And I'm still like that. It's just like, definitely. I just want to play. I love it so much. And I love playing music, and I love playing with other musicians, and I love meeting new people, and you know, all these things that come into it. The fact that I get paid for it is like this incredible bonus that still I can't always get my head around. The fact that I get to do this full time for a living is just incredible, and I get to see amazing parts of the world, but that was never it was the goal to have it be my living, but I started when I was 11. Let's say from when I left school, 18 to 21, definitely, I wasn't paid for anything, like not at all. And I would just, maybe I would get petrol money paid for to get to gigs or to rehearsals, but that was in exceptional circumstances.
Lager shandy.
Yeah, well, yeah, I didn't actually drink then either, so I was such a cheap date. It was great. I was driving all the musicians to all the gigs, so but again, that helped with getting called for gigs. It's like sometimes I just get called because I drove the bass player.
Don't turn up off your face.
Well, yeah, that's that too. Yeah, she won't be off her head. But
that's brilliant.
Yeah,
I think that attitude is a really good one. To just be like, I'm going to get as much experience as I possibly can under my belt.
Yeah,
I'm going to do as many things as possible. And I recently did a showcase for a music video that I made in a 3D program, which I'd never done before, but it was really cool to be sort of showcasing my work over 6 months. And someone came up to me and said, well, my daughter wants to do something like this, but she I'm worried that she's not going to get paid for doing work. Yeah. And I was like, well, how old is your daughter? She was like, oh, she's 17. And I was like, really? If she doesn't need to be getting paid at the moment. What she really needs is experience. You know, she can do voluntary work in places that she's interested in. That's going to be really important. But yeah, this woman had a lot of focus on, but she's got to pay her rent, and she's got to. I was like, no, she's really just starting out. And had I been making this project to make money, it would have really changed the whole thing.
Absolutely.
I was making it in my free time with just my driver for like, wow, I could make like a 3D music video in a 3D program. This is going to be cool. But if I'd gone like, oh, I need to make money from a 3D music video, it would have totally changed it. So yeah, I was trying to sort of pass on to this woman that creating a nurturing environment for her daughter to grow in without a pressure of going, when are you going to get paid for this stuff?
It's so difficult.
That's more important, isn't it? And that stuff will come. The payment will come round. Like, I left university 2006 and I didn't get a job in the music industry for 10 years.
Yeah, see, that's what I believe. It takes a good 10 years of hard graft and experience before you start getting paid to a point, you know
Definitely.
what I mean? And so it's interesting you say about university. So when I agreed to do my A-levels with my parents, they said, look, just in case you lose a limb or something like that, like, could you please just go to A-levels? And I said, yeah, that's fair, because they've been, like I say, so supportive. And when I hit 18, I sort of started joining covers bands and stuff like that, which was great to bring in a little bit of income, not enough to live off of. But what my parents sat me down and said to me was, right, we can see you want to do this. Obviously, you're going to do this. You are already doing this. But why don't you stay living at home for now? And we can treat this like you're at university. So the next 3 years, just do everything you can. I think they gave me a small allowance of like, it was something like 100 quid a month or something to pay for petrol and phone. And it was like, you stay here, play with everyone. Like, don't let, don't let having to pay rent make you not say yes to something that could be a great opportunity in the long run. And, the amount of opportunities that I said yes to that then led to something, like you say, 10 years later, suddenly it's come back around and it's just like, really? But had I not been in that place on that one day, doing that one showcase, for instance, for free, I wouldn't have met that person and this conversation wouldn't be happening right now. And it's such it's a hard thing. I'm not going to pretend like I was in a very fortunate position that my parents were able to say to me, look, you've got 3 years, just go do it.
Yeah,
and, I think it was, I ended up moving out a year and a half later because I did end up getting some work, which was great. Or maybe 2 years later. But yeah, I was in a very fortunate position, not only because they said you can stay at home and, but just to have that understanding of, because they'd come from a place of not being able to do what they wanted to do because their parents were very much like, no, you need to earn a living and that's the end of it. To come from a place of, this is going to be hard, but if you want to work hard for it, then it will happen. It's just, you've got to keep going, you've got to keep persevering, and momentum is everything, basically. And weirdly, so this is a bit of a tangent, but it is sort of relevant, is when I first started playing drums, my dad had, maybe a year into when I was doing it, had just met up with a couple of friends of his who he'd known for a long time in the animation industry. And they had sat down in a pub and decided that they were going to create a kids' TV show. And basically, as I went through my drumming career, they started creating and pitching this kids' TV idea. And it ended up being this show called Peppa Pig.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
Which ended up,
I know that one.
There you go. Which has been very successful and it's been incredible. But why I say that is because I remember as a kid, my dad being part of short animated films, doing informational, that's not a word, educational type things about Parkinson's disease and things like that. Mm-hmm. And doing these little odd jobs here and there, but just because he wanted to be in that industry, he wanted to be doing it. And then to create this concept with his two friends and then sort of like work their butts off, getting rejection after rejection. Nobody wanted it at the beginning, like nobody would take it on, but they just kept going and working and working. And to see this happen in front of me and beside me whilst I was trying to also do what I wanted to do and just, always seeing, oh my God, that worked. And oh, it's doing really well. Oh, people actually know this show now. And oh, they've just got nominated for like BAFTAs. Like, this is bizarre. It's like this surreal thing that was happening. But every step of the way, it made me realise that, well, if I keep going, then I will get there too. Like, it's just one of those things. You just got to keep going no matter how many times he was rejected, I was rejected. And it was just like, okay, this is part of it. And again, going back to that film thing, this is all just part of the film.
Yeah,
all this
exactly.
rejection. And then at some point, it's going to be like, but look where it led. And yeah, so... There
Definitely.
you go. Random little fact.
That is amazing. Well, congratulations to him. That was a huge thing to be
We're
part
all
of.
very proud of him.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that perseverance and that determination is, that's what gets you to places, that's like not giving up regardless.
Someone once said to me, you've just got to have a bit of blind faith. And I think that's really stuck with me. It's just like, to me, I literally can't do anything else. It's part of my DNA now, and I can't do anything as well as I play the drums. I don't love anything as much as I love the drums, aside from maybe food. But yeah, and it's just one of those things. It's not even an option, and it's not about like. It was never about if. It was more about how and when, and yeah.
Where and where? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's amazing. Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people feel that way, don't they? When you found your sort of your happy place in terms of your hobby being your work, and you can't believe you're getting paid for it.
Yeah.
That's where you've been on the right path, and you've gone in the right direction, and there is nothing else. And regardless what happens, you're still going to be doing that. You still love that stuff. Cool. And what food do you like, by the way?
Oh my God, all food. So what do I really... Well, I've got a penchant for Japanese food I love. But sometimes nothing beats a good jerk chicken, rice and peas and plantain. But yeah, just all food. I just love food so much. And I love cooking as well. But it's funny, actually. So cooking is what I do to relax a lot of the time. And I used to say if I didn't do music, maybe I would be a chef or something like that. But actually, I don't think I ever would, only because it's a weird thing when you do music for a living, because I love it dearly. But when something you love becomes your job, it becomes slightly different. And it's just a different thing. And with food and stuff, it's so pure and just no pressure. And if I make a rubbish meal, then fine, I'll just wolf it down and I'll make something better tomorrow. But there's no, it's very whatever, and it's very open. And
definitely.
I want to keep that for the rest of my life, because I think it's important to have those things.
Like cooking is like really high pressure work, isn't it?
Oh
it's
my
very
God.
stressful.
Yeah,
very
you
long
want to talk
hours,
about
no breaks.
long hours with gigs.
Serious.
Forget about it. Cooking, being a chef, working in a kitchen. Oh my God, those guys. High pressure, long hours, like just relentless. And you only ever hear about it if like anything goes bad. Then you got someone coming back, this has been overcooked. Oh, crying out loud.
Yeah.
So but I have massive respect for anyone that does that job. It's just...
Oh, I do as well. I've got a friend that does it. And
really?
I'm just like, wow, man, you look so knackered. Fuck. I'm sure, the food's amazing, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm not a very good cook, but similarly, like if it looks terrible, but it tastes good, that's fine. You can't do that if you're a chef.
No,
it looks
exactly.
terrible, but honestly, trust me, you'll like it.
Yeah, exactly. I know how much work it takes to get good at something, and I'm not willing to do that for anything else now. It's just like, no, I don't even feel that I'm that great at the drums, really. I just kind of, like I say, get away with it. But even that has taken over 20 years of just working my butt off, and I continue to, and I always will, because as I say, it's like a part of me now.
Definitely, yeah. And you're in a great situation in what you're doing here. So we're sat in your studio here, which is an amazing building. So cool.
It's my childhood dream is this building, and to have it now is just like, oh my, it's like all my dreams have come true. As an 11-year-old, if you'd have told me you're going to have your own studio, I'd just be like, no way. Yeah, it's so incredible. And it's literally changed my life, having the ability to record and to have a remote recording business is just, it's like I say, it's changed my life, because before my sole way of income were gigs and touring, basically, which is amazing. But, tours end and gigs are just one-offs or whatever. And if the phone wasn't ringing and my diary was empty, as we were talking about earlier, I wish I'd had heard this talk you were talking about, I would just feel worthless. I'd just be like, oh my God, nobody's calling me, therefore I must not be good enough, therefore what do I do? Oh my God, that's it, end of career, it's all over. And then a week later the phone would ring and it'll all be fine again. But the emotional roller coaster that bought was so awful, and it was so my self-worth was just relying on a phone call. As it turned out, it was really unhealthy, and looking back, it was incredibly unhealthy. Whereas now, as soon as I was able to build this studio, now I've got this business that I can put my time and energy into, and again, I see results back in the same way when I first started playing the drums, and I would put in the work and I would see results at the end of it. It's the same sort of thing. So I come off of a tour, and rather than going through the post-tour blues, which all musicians go through, whether it's one gig or whether it's a tour or whatever. It's a real thing. I just come straight into the studio. I will make sure that I have clients booked in for when I get off the road, so I can be working with them straight away, or, you know, just creating videos to put up online. And I have this thing, STEM Club, which I know that you know about because you've been very kind in sharing the word about it, which means that I can put out free drum stems or drum tracks for musicians to play along to record to produce with, or whatever they want to do. It's just to help facilitate something that maybe they would not have access to, especially if they're like, I'm very aware of my younger self, and growing up we didn't have a lot. As I said, we were still very lucky, but we didn't have a lot, and I certainly wouldn't have been able to afford to hire someone. If I was a guitarist or a songwriter, if I was 16 or even 18, I wouldn't have had the means to hire a remote musician to record on my song. However, the way that I think of it is, let me put out something for that kid that, yes, it's not drums that are recorded to your song, but it's something you can do something with. And, it's just like, it's that collaborative element, I suppose, as well. And just being able to give back a little bit is really important to me because, as I said to you before, the drum community, all of that, the people that really helped me and gave to me when I was younger, I'm desperate to give that back to other people that would benefit from it. And I often say this, and I truly believe it. I believe that the drums saved my life for various reasons. And if I can have one kid, just go, either maybe I can do that, or, using the stems, maybe I can write a song with these, or whatever it is, like that is everything to me. Like, forget, even if I never played another note in my life, if I can continue to do that, I'm done. Like, I'm happy. That's it.
I'm pretty sure you've done that because the stems that you give away are amazing, and they're a great insight into, the what drums sound like separated out as stems. Let's talk about STEM Club in a second. If we just say, so you have a website called Emily Drums where people can, so you do remote recording for people all around the world, don't you? Yeah, so you can, I guess, instead of having to get on a plane and go to Australia or go to America, people can contact you. And you can record on their tracks in your pajamas sometimes.
In my pajamas, I try to not record in my pajamas now, only because I feel like I should try and bring some sort of professionalism to the studio when I play. Yeah. But I could record in my, and I have done, definitely. It was, so this, the concept of a remote studio for myself actually was born out of a bit of a, not a bad situation, but so when I was playing with the Darkness, it sort of like transpired as we worked together that maybe it wasn't a very good fit for me to be there for them and for me. And it was mainly because from my side, I'd sort of, as I said, I was saying yes to playing with everyone, and consequently I was playing with a lot of musicians and had built up sort of a lot of relationships. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your personality, but being in a band, you can generally only play with them. And for the Darkness, they were just saying, we need to be your priority. You will need to drop everything, even if, like, you're welcome to go and do other gigs, but if something comes in last minute, you're going to have to drop that, which is fair. But it's not something that I'm comfortable with, because I try to be the person that if I've said yes to something, it means that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So,
and would that be, is that like a contractual thing that you'd have to?
Yeah,
or is it a verbal agreement?
Like, how would that
actually work?
I don't actually know, because we didn't quite get that far. Probably just a verbal agreement. Like, it's just, there's no point in having a contractual thing if you don't need it, and we're all musicians, so we're all a bit like, should we just say we're gonna do it? Yeah, cool. All right.
Just shake on it.
Yeah, and bless them. And the time with the Darkness was so much fun, and doing we did an album, Last of Our Kind, which I'm so proud to have been a part of, and it was so much fun, and they're amazing fellas. But this side of it, I was like, I can't commit to that. Just the nature of me, I love playing with lots of different people in loads of situations. I love to have opportunities be available to me. It's just the way I'm wired, and that's that. So consequently, it sort of came to light that this probably wasn't going to work. So anyway, at the end of that, I realised that no one's going to call me probably for the rest of the year. And this happened in April or May, I think it was, of 20... 15. And I thought, right, no one else is going to call me for the rest of this year because everyone thinks I'm playing with the darkness still, and that's just how it works. So I made my peace with that and went, right, cool. It's going to be quiet the rest of the year. I can deal with it. Let me actually sit down and think about what I love about drumming, the things that I absolutely adore, the things that I don't, because this kind of made me realise I don't want to be with just one band. It's not going to make me happy, and I want to be happy. I know, isn't that much to ask?
Simple.
Yeah, who'd have thought? So I thought, right, what do I love? I love playing songs. That has always been, even before I started playing music, like I said, me and my sister sitting there reading the Definitely Maybe lyric sheets. I love songs, I love lyrics. It's just, they speak to me, literally. And then I thought, the other thing, love playing with loads of different people. Absolutely love that. And although I do love travelling, I love the idea of not having to, because at that point I'd been away so much, and the thought of having a home life was kind of like, that might be quite nice to have the option of not having to get on a plane again for, the third time this month. And, whilst it is, as I say, amazing, it's tiring. Like, you do get exhausted. And I sort of put all these things together and realised that, a remote recording studio would be great. It means I get to meet people from all over the planet. Like, there are no boundaries with it, who are playing all sorts of different music. I get to play songs day in, day out. I get to be at home and have a space of my own where I feel comfortable and can do the best job I can. I can also really hone my skills on things like tuning, and recording isn't something that I'd really done before. I mean, I literally decided I was going to do this and then realised, I don't really know what I'm doing though. So I kind of had to learn it on the fly, which is the best way for me to learn, definitely. A bit of pressure, I'm like, yeah, that makes me work. And that's how this idea was born. And, some people were already doing it, which was great, because it made me realise that it can be done, and, people are making a living doing solely that. So this is quite an interesting thing as another option that means that I don't have to just wait for that phone call, and in the in-between I can still have my sanity, which is a novel idea, but it's really worked, and I feel so fulfilled from it, and it's made me realise what's possible, really.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is really fantastic. And I guess the diversity of the things that come in as well. You
so
listen to
good.
the first few minutes or a second or something and go, wow, yeah, it's totally different from what I was doing yesterday. Or,
yeah, totally.
I guess, and you're possibly imagining, I mean, how direct, what are people like in terms of giving you directions on the drums? Like,
it can be anything from either program drums that are incredibly intricate, and it's like, I want you to do exactly what's on the thing, I just want a more human feel with it, or whatever, and that's fine. I'm like, yeah, cool. Or it might be just literally an acoustic guitar and a vocal, and just say, do what you want. And I love those ones the best, to be honest. That's really good. Or anything in between. It can be, vaguely programmed drums. Or, I mean, one guy, he just says to me, if I just gave you like a brief, like, I want a song that sounds a bit like a Jack White kind of song, 3.5 minute, here's the structure, can you just play something and make something up? And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, sure. And then I'll do that. And he's like, yeah, great, perfect. And I'm like, all right, cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so it's quite fluid. It's quite, but again, like you say, it really works for me, because every day you're like, I just don't know what I'm doing, and who knows? I just open up the notes and have a look and go, cool. All right, wants me to sound like Smashing Pumpkins. Great, I can do that. Let's go.
Really amazing, and sort of leads on to the STEM Club, which you do for people. Which is a thing for anyone who's to have access to your drum stems, like multi-tracked drums. And so how did that come about? Like, where did that? What was the inception of the idea of STEM Club?
So STEM Club it was a twofold thing, STEM Club, the reason that I got it together. Part of the reason was, as I said before, I was very aware that there were, so when I first started out the studio, in terms of pricing, it was quite cheap when I started out because I sort of was working out myself. I wanted to make sure it was a good product before I started properly charging and, you know, all that sort of stuff. But the price gradually went up. Mm-hmm. And as it went up, I gradually got more and more uncomfortable about the fact that I was cutting out a certain amount of people because they couldn't afford that. And I'm not comfortable with any kind of exclusion of people. It's not my nature. I'm a very all-inclusive person. So I just thought, right, there's got to be a way that I can include everyone. And I thought, well, if I release these drum stems, that would work for like people, like I say, trying to either just practicing or recording or writing songs or whatever. There's a multitude of different types of people that could use them. And then I thought, and actually, it would be a really good way to showcase my studio and the sounds that I'm getting. And also, if people download them and they like what they're hearing, they're used to the way that I work, it will endear them to maybe using the studio one day. And this might be 10 years down the line, who knows? And it's certainly not, that's not the intention of like just some, I don't know, advertising thing or whatever. But I just thought, it kind of just makes sense all around. I get to give back. People get to see what I do without having to pay me first. They can check that they like what I do. Because I'm still so like insecure that someone's going to come back and go, this sounds awful.
Actually, I just checked all of your work and none of it's good enough.
Yeah, none of it is good enough, and give me back my money. So it's partly that. It's just to give me a bit of like confidence that, cool, they know what I do and they're happy with that, so they know what I'm bringing to the table. So I'm very up for being very honest about stuff, very open, as transparent as I can be. And what's more transparent than going, here's literally the sound that I get from my studio, here, take them, use them, write music with them, release them, totally fine, whatever you want. Like, my only stipulation is that you credit me if you use them, and then more people hopefully will hear about Emily Drums, and also the fact that a remote recording situation happens, because a lot of people didn't even know that it was a thing beforehand.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
and having access to not only like a drum kit but a really good drummer as well, is something that like a lot of people don't do, especially aspiring producers or people who are just at home with their guitar. They don't, all of this stuff is it's amazing to be able to have access to that. I think it's really brilliant what you're doing.
Well, again, it goes back to that sort of investing in other people's careers, I guess. Like, it's that 3-year gap that I was given. If I had something that was the equivalent, in fact, for me, what it would have been was like music to play along to without drums on it. That would have been my dream as a kid. And when I was that age, it wasn't really around. At least I couldn't find any, and I searched a lot. I know there are a few multi-tracks around, but even then I didn't really understand what a multi-track was, and there's all this stuff. But I just thought, what would be the equivalent for someone that I could bring to someone else's career if they're thinking about production or whatever? Like, how can I help with that? Here's some drums, mix them, make them sound great, put them in a project that you're doing or whatever it is, I don't know, or just chuck them in the bin. If you don't like them, fine, that's equally okay.
Yeah, they're brilliant. I've listened to them, I've looked through them all, and there's no way anybody would do that at all.
Oh, thank you. I'm always trying to get them better. They're not perfect yet, but
no, I think when I contacted you, I was just like, well, some of the file naming could be.
Oh no, that was great though, because I changed it, and then I got people coming back just going, oh, thank you for doing that, because that helped. So I appreciate that sort of feedback, because again, I'm coming at it from a drummer's perspective, but if you come to me and say, actually, this will probably work better, it's just like, wicked, I'll do that. Like, I'm fully aware that I don't know what I'm doing most of the time.
I think that's only because I worked for a music company, and audio editing was one of the things I did, and sometimes they sell multi-track drum stuff, so
amazing.
I would know the sort of standard formatting thing.
See, but that helps me.
What you're offering. And there's loads of different music styles, isn't it? It's not just like tempos, styles. You've done lots of different things to fit all palettes. If people are making hip hop, or they're making grunge, or they're making metal.
No double kick though, that's the only thing.
There's no double kick.
No double kick ones, no. I'm not quite up to scratch with my double kick, not since I was about 17. So yeah, that's a flaw in my playing, but it's okay. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, that's cool. I think for me, I can do the ones at the top, but the leg one, that doesn't happen at the right time.
It's all good. Like I say, you can do all the synth stuff, and I can't even do anything with that. I just get freaked out within 2 seconds. So.
Yeah. But yeah, it's funny with drums, isn't it? Because there are loads of little tips that drummers have for each other. Like I've seen people, and again, this is coming from really layman's looking at the drum kit. I've seen people with like a 50p taped to the front of the kit to give it a click when it hits it. You know, putting things inside the bass drum.
Oh, it's a whole thing. Like, I remember being on tour when I say tour. I went and did a gig in Manchester supporting this band called Blood Sugar. And they were from America. And their drummer was like the most incredible drummer I'd ever seen. And I was 16 at the time. And his kick drum was just the best thing I'd ever heard in my life. And I was just like, how do you do that? That's amazing. And he just showed me this one little technique of rolling up a towel and making sure that it touched both sides of the kick drum. Mm-hmm. And instantly it was like this punchy thing. And I was like, I love you. But drummers are like that. It's just like, oh, have you seen this amazing thing? It's like silly things like on this kit here, if you can see, there's a mic that's miking up the hole on the snare drum, which is by...
Oh, there.
Yeah. So that...
Yeah,
that's right. It's actually a Unidyne, but yeah, I wouldn't have known that, and someone else got it for me, and I was like, okay. So in fact, it was Jonathan Atkinson, the other drummer for Kim, and yeah. So someone else told me about that. Just said, you know what's a really good thing to mic up so it gives you more body to your snare drum sound? Yeah, try miking up the hole. And I tried it and I was like, I love it. And again, it's just like these little things that you pick up along the way. Yeah. And then equally, like I'm telling you right now, you know, you pass on these bits of knowledge and it just becomes this very... I don't know, collaborative community, I guess. And things like tuning drums, tuning snare drums, big thing, massive thing in the drum community. Mm-hmm. And like once you find a good tuning, it's like, oh, I must tell everyone. So yeah, it's really nice. It's so nice.
It's really cool. And yeah, in terms of like little tweaks and things, I think the drums is very much an instrument on its own for things like that. Like there's a guy called Cassell, the beat maker.
Oh, I love Cassell. Hey Cassell, if you're listening to this.
Yeah, he had a technique. He drums for the Streets, didn't he? I think that's the one I know. But yeah, he put a snare head, I think that's what it's called, on top of a snare.
Yeah, that's
and then
amazing.
Hit it. Ooh, wow, like 80s,
so good.
Big 80s snare sound.
I love it so much.
Such a brilliant idea. And he was just like, and this is it without, bang. This is it with... Bang.
I literally did a video almost identical to that, and I didn't know that he'd done a video of that. That's so funny. See, this is what I mean. Drummers, we're such geeks. Oh, we love it. Oh, we love it so much.
Yeah, and helping each other out. I think the most talented producers I know, if you ask them, what did you do with that bass synth on that part?
Oh, they'll
go, here's exactly what I did.
Oh, yeah.
There's the compression, and I did that because of that. And it's funny because I think when you're growing up making music and you like ask a producer how they did something, I'm not going to tell you that.
But like you say,
I worked for years and I'm not just going to give away top secret classified information like that. But the most talented producers are going, this is how I did it.
Yeah, because they're always exploring, and that's what I did for that. But I'll probably do something completely different next time because I'm always trying to refine it or change it or go for expression. It's more about expressing what they're hearing in their head as opposed to this is the one and only thing I do. And I find that the people that do have the one and only thing that they do, they guard it like a secret. But actually, to me, it's about exploration. It's about, right, what can I do if I shove a chain on the toms and then hit it? What does that sound like? And, you know, there's so many drummers out there that are so brilliant at doing that sort of stuff. Like there's a guy called Aaron Sterling out in the States. He's been out with John Mayer recently, but he's a massive recording drummer, plays with literally everybody that you can think of. But he all the time is just trying random stuff. He was getting, Perrier water cans and just stringing them together and just making a random noise and then making it sound like the most incredible thing you've ever heard in your life. And it's like, oh my God, like music is so awesome and it's just so good. But again, he's very happy to be like, this is what I'm doing. These are literally cans of water.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant.
I love those approaches, those sorts of experimental approaches.
Yeah,
I think Eamon Tobin, who's like a really big Brazilian producer who grew up in Britain, he does very cinematic drums. And he's got all kinds of videos with stuff on the drums and really textural. He's even recorded like I don't think this isn't an exaggeration. So like an observatory. he's recorded the sound of an observatory moving.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
And also tiny microphones that are on like insects and things like that. He's gone like ridiculous in his recording. You know, we all try and just get something weird in our living. Do something with the radiator. Yeah, that's as much as I'm going to experiment today. But then there's people that are like really taking that
it's a different way of
experimentation
thinking.
to huge scale to tiny scale.
It's like Sylvia Massey as well. Do you know her as a producer?
I don't know.
She does some crazy. She's great at recording drums, but she does some strange things, like records drums through a hose pipe. Like, just really, my brain would never think of these sorts of things, but I think there's definitely something in the way that people think, and your guy Tobin sounds like that, and Sylvia Massey is certainly like that, and Aaron Sterling is like that. It's a different way of thinking, but again, it's that creative thing of we're all coming at this thing called music with our own approach, our own sort of life experience that's come from behind it to this one moment right now, and you saying what you want to say musically as you say it will speak to one other person maybe, but that's what it's about. It's about connection, isn't it? And whether that's musically, it might even be just in an actual conversation, but sometimes you do need to be the person that's saying that thing in that way for that other person to go, I get it.
Yeah, the idea is to just start bouncing around.
Yeah.
Like even just in talking now, I've sort of, when you're walking down a corridor, and you're the clicking of your heels, like it creates like there's like a slight phasing effect that happens because there's a certain distance between it.
Yeah.
And you get sometimes happens in walking upstairs as well. You've got this weird phasing of the sound reflecting. I wonder what would happen if you put a drum kit in like a really enclosed space like that and had that phasing thing happen.
Yeah, see?
God knows.
Don't know. Maybe you should find out. Maybe we should find out. Let's find a corridor and just get some drums in there, get some mics up and see what happens.
Yeah, like the most enclosed space possible. That would be amazing. I do like doing stuff like that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, cool. Let me just double check the time. Oh, wow. It's only 2:00 now, so...
Oh, wow. We'd literally been talking for like an hour and a half.
I think, yes, exactly an hour and a half.
Oh.
Cool. Let me just have a quick look through what I've got here. Are you okay to talk for a little while longer? Okay, cool.
You never have to ask me if I'd like to speak more.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's good. That's good.
I'm a nightmare for it. I'm sorry for later when you have to like edit all of this.
The funny thing is with editing, that's one thing people ask you a lot is like, oh, what's it like to edit them all? But I think as they've gone on, I've done less and less and less editing.
I like that.
Maybe because I'm going a bit less and
I found that
there's
too.
a bit more structure.
Yeah.
But the first one, for example, the first one I ever did, I think I interviewed her for about an hour and a half, and the actual final edit was about 45 minutes.
Oh, really?
And I literally poured over like every word.
Yeah,
but
you kind of get over it, don't you? You're just like, oh, it's fine, I'm human. I found that with the A Drummer's Guide 2 videos. It was just like, at first it was a lot of and now I'm like, anyway, there's different words that you start using to kind of like
compensate.
Yeah, exactly. And I've just given up and gone, I am who I am, and yes, I say the wrong word sometimes and you get the stream of consciousness, but actually I'm okay with
That's
it.
the best bit.
It's the human bit, isn't it?
Yeah. I think the only thing I really edit now is like when I've said something stupid.
See, I leave all those in.
Leave them in. Yeah, I can't.
All of them.
I just
all
can't
of them.
do it. It's like, make myself sound a little bit more intelligent. By
See, I just think, right,
out.
People need to know how stupid I am, because then again it comes back to that thing, they might think, oh well, if she can do it then I probably can, and it's like, yeah, see, idiot over here can do this, therefore anyone can do it.
Okay, from now on I will leave in all the stupid things that I say and the things that I get wrong.
Love it.
Do you think that you have like a mantra? Do you have like a mantra or a way of looking at life and the way that you do things relating to drumming?
Yeah. I don't know if I think I'm always trying to find a mantra, but my most recent one that I'm working on, and sometimes it's happening and I'm well happy, is just to be the best version of myself that I can be. Not to look left and right of me at what other people are doing and go, oh, I should be doing that or whatever. It's just, I am this person I bring what I bring to the table, whether it's something of value. I'll let other people decide, and if they don't, if they're not into it, fine. But I just need to be the best version of what I want to be, which is a drummer that plays songs really well as best I can, has a nice feel, like hopefully, and makes, just be able to give something back to people, whether that be musically, whether that be through my videos that I make, a drummer's guide too, or just having this conversation right now. Hopefully that can speak to someone and make them go, yeah, cool, I get it, like I want to do that, or yeah, I can do that. I think that's it. Yeah
No, that's great. And I think we the purpose of this is to sort of let people see how you feel about things and share experiences.
Because I think people outside of the music industry, or any industry really, if you're looking in, you think it's this shrouded thing and it's all sort of like, not smoke and mirrors, but if you only know if you're in the inner circle
somewhere that everyone goes
exactly. to. and what you sort of realise is that actually it's, letting people in the way that you are, which I think is incredible and so important. To see the human element of what anyone does, I think it makes it attainable, it makes it understandable and relatable, and I think it's just really important, because I think connecting together just on a human level, human to human, is just so important, and I don't know, it means a lot to me. Basically. Thank you for doing this series.
Oh God, it's been really fun. Like sometimes I do question why I'm doing it, but I always, when I sit down and talk to people, and then when I've put it out, I'm always like, that was a great thing.
I have a big thing about having a really strong why behind you, why you do anything, and as long as that why is strong enough, then you'll get through anything. Because I'm exactly the same. So often I sit down and I just go, why am I doing this? Why am I putting out these free stems? I've put out like 30 packs. I literally had this thought 2 weeks ago. It was the beginning of a new year, and I was like, I'm exhausted. Like, is this actually doing anything for anyone? Is anyone actually benefiting from this the way I wanted them to, or hope that they would? And then I swear to you, no more than 30 minutes later, I get an email from someone just basically saying, thank you so much for your drum stems. I'm using them and they're amazing. And I was like, thank you so much for your message. It's exactly what I needed to hear. And then I'm going to go and do another pack. And that's what I did. And
exactly.
It's those moments that you just go, okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah, I had one of those moments this week. I was like a bit struggling this week, and then someone came over to me and was like, your music video really inspired me to do something. Come and have a look what I've made.
Oh!
And I was like, wow, do you know what? I wasn't feeling too great, but that's really just like turned everything around.
Yeah.
That I actually inspired someone who's way more talented than me to
but that's how I feel.
Like,
there's so many people so much more talented than me, and I'm like, you're inspired by me? Yeah. Seriously? Thank you. This seems backwards. I don't understand. Oh.
Yeah, but I guess the other thing in talking to people is about like letting people know that like career progression is not like this linear line of like, well, I wanted to get over there, so I just went straight over there, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was as well. And then you soon realise it is just this. It's a mess. It's up, it's down, you're working, you're not working, people know about you, people don't know about you. It's an endless back and forth, and just redefining as well as you go what you want your career to be. For me, when I started out, it was just, I just want to make money playing drums. What I didn't realise that opens me up to everything, which includes teaching, which I don't think I'm particularly cut out for, only because my lifestyle now is so all over the place, going away and stuff, and I believe in having being constant with it. So I was like, right, so okay, maybe I don't want to do teaching right now, maybe at some point I will, or doing covers gigs. I thought I didn't want to do that when I was a kid. Turns out there's some of my favourite gigs to do, and they're so much fun. So it's kind of this learning about yourself and what aspects of music or whatever you're trying to do you do enjoy and you want to do more of. Like, why would you not want to do more of the stuff that you love? And as I say, that's how I ended up with the studio and then the touring still. And yeah, it's it's so interesting, the journey. But I think to know that it isn't as simple as I've made it. That doesn't happen. I don't feel like I've made it. Certainly not. I'm still striving. I'm still working my butt off to try and be the best thing that I can be. And there are times when I'm not working, or, it's suddenly like, I need to earn some money because I'm not sure that we're going to pay the mortgage this month. But okay, and then something will come in and it's fine. But it is this kind of... It is all over the place. But again, coming back to why you're doing something, I love it so much that it's just, I'll find a way to make it work, and that's it. And sometimes it's easier than others, and sometimes it's not. And sometimes it's not to do with the phone ringing, and it's something in your head. Mentally, you're not quite, in a good place, and that can severely affect everything else, where, you're away doing an amazing tour, but you're miserable. And it's like, well, what is that about? I'm doing what I love and I hate this right now. What is going on? This isn't fair. I was meant to be here and be happy, and I'm here and I'm not. And that is like the cruelest trick ever.
Yeah.
So it's not as simple as this linear A to B, and here you are with nothing, there you are, you will have everything. It doesn't work like that. No. But again, coming back to that, giving yourself space to be in the moment and just enjoy where you're at right now, even if that's a difficult place, I think that's really what the focus should be on. And my whole thing is, as long as I'm able to live, then I'm happy. I don't need millions in the bank, and I don't need any of that. What I want is an enriched life, if you like. And at the moment, I feel really good about that. And excellent. I'm not saying that next week it might all change and I might feel a bit weird, or something might happen, or who knows. But right now, in this moment, I'm like so happy and that's so great. Lucky, and so lucky, excellent. Very lucky girl.
That's really good. Really good. And I think you're right about being the best version of yourself going forward into every project. I think you did actually say that. I did write down a quote where you said, my favourite project is the one I'm working on now. Yeah. Which is that's an unbelievably great attitude, isn't it? Yeah. That, this thing now is what I love doing. And if you do that all the time, that's just gonna propagate everywhere into the universe, and that's
so true. And like you say, new opportunities open themselves up to you when you have that kind of, when you're putting out that kind of energy, I suppose. Yeah, it's kind definitely. Of you need to be open to that. It needs to be not looking to the next thing. It's just why? What's the point? Yeah, you're striving for something that you're not even going to enjoy. You're just going to try and do something better or greater or worth more or whatever it is. But as I said, I might get hit by a bus tomorrow, but I know I know that right now is awesome.
Exactly. That's so true. And that also ties in with a trope or a thing that always happens in podcasts, which is and what's the next thing you're going to do? People always ask that, and that's a standard. And I don't want to ask people that, and because that's not what's important. What's important is the moment. Yeah. And I feel applying more pressure of well, you've done okay, but what are you going to do to better yourself,
now what?
Questions. Yeah. I think mainly maybe for a selfish reason that I don't like being asked that, or maybe my parents would always ask me that when I'd done something successful. But I don't like to put that in my podcast, because it's cool. I don't want it. It doesn't matter what you're going to do in the future. That doesn't matter. What's happened now and what you've already done.
You're living what you believe, and that is awesome. I've got so much respect for that, because you are going against the grain, which is brilliant.
Definitely.
And I bet you there are more than one person listening to this going, yes. And I'm certainly one person sitting here going, yes, I love that you're doing that. That's amazing.
I have phased that out. I wonder if people have noticed. I don't know. Maybe we'll
send
find
an email to see if you have noticed to midierror.
Cool. Okay. Just to go over. So you said you do the Drummer's Guide 2.
Yes.
If we just quickly just mention that, because you've dropped it mentioned it a few times. Mm-hmm. So you've talked about success and failure and
so it's
motivation.
The Drummer's Guide 2 is basically me talking about my experience getting into and going through and being in the music industry. And the way that came about was I was this was before the studio and all of that, and I was trying desperately to think of ways to give back to the drum community. And again, I was thinking about my younger self. I was thinking about a specific time. I went to this drum clinic when I was 14 years old, and I was completely awe-inspired by this drummer called Mark Mondesi, people say it different ways, and I was desperate to ask him questions in this group setting, but I was so shy that I just couldn't, and I was just like, and I regretted it for so long. And then I thought, right, okay, what about if I created a series where I talk about the things that I wanted to know about, or that would have helped me on my journey to becoming a professional, the reality of what being a professional is, the kind of skills that you're going to need to be able to be a professional. Not only that, the kind of mindset that you need, the fact that you will need to go out and network with people, and what that's like as an introverted person, as a shy person, which again probably seems a little bit strange listening to me talk, thinking that I'm introverted, but I am. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, let me put it out there for my 14-year-old self and just see. Let's just see if people resonate with it. And consequently, the amount of incredible feedback that I've gotten from it, just going, any one time, I can't believe you put out this video this week. It's literally exactly what I needed to hear, or I'm going through exactly that same thing right now. Thank you so much. And even just to know that someone else has been through it or is going through it, I find that has really helped, and it really helps people. And again, it comes back to, I just feel great for being able to help people just by basically blathering on, which, as you can tell, I quite enjoy doing. It was quite difficult at first. At first I was like, I don't really know how to do this, but
that is the weird thing, isn't it, in the beginning, when it's you in a room and the camera and you're like, hi everybody.
Hi. So I mean, if you look at the first video I did, the first video was about tour bus touring, because I was on tour with some girls, with Thompson twins, Tom Bailey, and they were about to go on a tour bus tour, and none of them had been on a tour bus tour before. And I was just like, and they were like, can you just tell us like what we need to know? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I went through with them what they need to know, sort of the basics, the essentials. And then I thought, well, let me make that the first video, because I know that people want to know about that, because I've literally just had 3 girls asking me exactly that.
That's cool.
And it's this 40-minute video of me, just a lot of and then a bit of information in between. But yeah, and putting out that first video, it kind of spurred me on, like the reaction from it. I was like, oh, this could be a thing, because like you are with this, being let into that world, if only through curiosity, is one thing. But if you want to be doing this, I remember going on my first tour bus tour, and I remember the only thing I was worried about was looking like an amateur, looking like an idiot, looking like I didn't belong there. And I thought, if I had watched that video, so at least I had an idea of what to expect, that would have been awesome. So a lot of the videos are kind of like based around that, or if people ask me very specific questions, I'll happily talk about a subject for 20 minutes or whatever, and hopefully something valuable will come out of it, although most of my videos end with me going, I'm not sure any of that made sense. But anyway, so yeah.
No, they definitely do made sense. I've listened to I've listened to a lot of them, and that they've been really beneficial, really open, really honest appraisals of like how you're feeling and situations.
The thing is, I'm also incredibly aware of this kind of Instagram culture that is around at the moment, where everyone's filtered and trying to look perfect and stuff like that. And I just thought I need to be the opposite of that, because I am not that. I am an idiot. I am clumsy. I am stupid sometimes. I say silly things, and my brain goes to very strange places. But I need people to know that that's okay, and if they're feeling like that and feeling I'm not this perfect Instagram person, which I'm not, and that's a big reason that when I do these videos, I have, in fact right now, just generally like I don't have any makeup on. It's like there's no filter. It's just like, this is me, unedited. I am really this dumb, but I've managed to do something. It's just bringing that human element to it.
Definitely, I think it's refreshing, really.
Oh, thank
because
you.
because there is very much a superficial, massively superficial, like the celebrity culture that we've all grown up with. That's now actually trickled down into our actual lives now. And to bring that reality, the genuine reality, to it, I think is appreciated.
It sounds a bit deep, but I've always had a problem with like not feeling good enough when I was younger. I never felt good enough, and that's the other thing, this whole sort of being perfect thing. There must be so many people out there just going, I'm not good enough to be doing, so for instance on my Instagram feed that I do put up cool shots of me playing or whatever, and some of them do have filters on them or whatever. And I would hate the idea of someone looking at that going, I'm not good enough to do that. However, if they then watch a video of me being an idiot, chatting at them about something random, I'd like to think they go, oh, she's just normal. She's just, okay, maybe I could do that. And I like that juxtaposition of like, here's what I'm presenting, here's what I'm really like. Both of these things can exist, and it means that you can do it too. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from in terms of that.
That's brilliant.
I'm just trying.
You try. Yeah, it's brilliant. What you're doing is amazing.
Thank you.
It is really, really good. I'm sure you're helping a lot of people.
I hope so.
Yeah, that are unaware of the music industry and what's going on.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's. Well, let me just have one look through, just in case there's one thing I see on the train and go, oh no, why don't I ask about that? Yeah, some of them you've actually just answered even before I've gone on to it.
I told you I like to ramble.
Things that you do outside of drums, like the food thing. That was like, that was one of them for later. Yeah. That was good.
I also do jigsaw puzzles outside of drumming.
Do you?
How rock and roll am I?
That's really rock and roll, that is.
Jigsaw puzzles, and at the moment I'm replaying Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation.
PS1, are you? Yeah,
not on a PS1, it's the PS4. Did you see, do you know about Final Fantasy? Do you remember it at all? No? Or did you play it at all? No.
Do you know what? I didn't have a PlayStation, I had a Sega Saturn, but I am a huge gamer from like back in the day.
Oh,
so
okay.
Up to PS2.
Oh,
you can ask me about any games console from like the early 80s and we can talk about
love it.
But Final Fantasy VII, no, I had a PlayStation really late on, so I didn't.
Oh, okay. Well, they're basically, so love this game, had a whole thing where played up until there were 3 discs. I think I got halfway through the second disc, and my dad decided to explore what the idea of formatting a memory card was. So lost all of my I'd been and all of that. It's a big game
as well.
It's a
like
big
an epic
game.
Yeah.
So, and I was probably, I don't even know how old I was, maybe 9. No, maybe a bit older. I don't remember when the PS1 came out. But anyway.
About 94, 95.
94. So yeah, maybe about 8 or 9. And I was like, well, I'm not replaying it. And anyway, years later, I've just been like, I'm going to play this now. So I'm on to disc 3 at the moment. But
nice.
They're doing a remake where they're re-rendering everything and redoing all the graphics. And I'm so excited, but I'm really annoyed with myself that I've almost completed this version and I'm going to want to replay it with the new graphics.
Timing.
Oh,
it's perfect timing, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know. But I love it. I love Final Fantasy 7 and 8.
Already.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they are great games. I remember they did a film, didn't they? They did a Final Fantasy film, which
it was actually
was CGI. Yeah, really, really, really cool.
I enjoyed that. But yeah, I like some games. I tried Red Dead Redemption recently.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't a fan of that. Bit slow.
I think you can do. I mean, modern games are like next level to me now. I was playing Forza Motorsport the other day and just like, oh my god, I just can't connect this to a computer game like we used to play. Like,
it's just so complicated. I'm like, I don't understand what's happening or what you want me to do. Why is there like this cinematic thing for like 25 minutes? I just want to play the game. Like,
exactly.
And why do I have to play it online? I don't want to play with other people.
I know, I'm the same like that. I'm totally offline sort of person.
It's a generational thing, I'm sure, because we just never had that. And it was like, no, playing games was a solitary thing. At most, you'd have one other person, or if you had the N64, you'd have 4 people doing the Mario Kart thing or whatever. But yeah,
There's
it was not a thing.
There's a great thing in Brighton. There's a gaming night called Gaming Retribution. I'm just going to shout it out, actually.
Yes.
They do it on Sunday nights and Tuesday nights at the
yeah.
Hare and Hound and the Hope and Ruin in Brighton. And they have all the old consoles, and they have literally hundreds of games for them.
Really?
They have a projector screen, like N64, PlayStation, NES, SNES, all of them. It's free. You just go to a pub. You buy a pint at the pub if you want to, or like me, if you don't drink, soda and lime, which sometimes is free. It's a really cheap night out, and they've got all the old consoles.
Wow.
And it's really good. So yeah, we play like 4-player GoldenEye, 4-player Mario Kart on the N64.
Yeah. God, I forgot about GoldenEye. That was
so
huge,
good.
wasn't it?
Yeah, it was massive.
Oh yeah, we didn't have an N64. We had a PS1 when it came out, and our games were Tekken and Ridge Racer.
Right, yeah,
that was
nice.
like everything. And then later on it was like Broken Sword. Did you ever play that?
Yeah, point and click adventure games.
Oh, I love a point and click adventure game.
Did you play Monkey Island?
No, I didn't, but I played Sam and Max. Do you remember that?
Yes, yeah. Sam and
Loved
Max Hit
Sam
the
and
Road.
Max.
I think I had that on maybe an Apple Mac. But
Yeah,
honestly,
same.
the Monkey Island, they remade the Monkey Islands
did
with
they?
really cool, lovely graphics. So I totally
Ooh.
recommend playing Monkey Island 1 and 2.
Okay.
They're like pirate adventures, but they're
I'm
really
with
funny.
you.
And Guy Bush-Threepwood is a character who's like totally incompetent, trying to be a big, scary pirate, but he's just like this little boy. Sometimes his jacket falls off and everyone's like, well, you're not a pirate.
That's brilliant. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm already sold.
They're
Like,
classics. They're
yeah,
really,
I was a
really
bit worried
classics.
about after I finished Final Fantasy VII. So Monkey Island, I'm coming for you.
Monkey Island,
1
do
and
it.
2. Thank you.
Cool. Well, it's been great to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Good. Yeah, and best wishes for everything you do in the future. And yeah, I guess if people want to go to STEM Club,
Yep.
they can find it.
Yeah,
on
just
your
go to
website.
emilydrums.com. There's a button that says STEM Club in the top right-hand corner. At least as of right now, until I revamp my website, which I enjoy doing ever so much.
Cool.
But
When you've done Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah. Which, by my sort of like timeline, it probably won't be for another year, but yeah.
Cool. Great. Well, nice to speak to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Oh, it was such a pleasure to speak to Emily. She's a wonderful person. We had a really great chat, and I could tell from her online stuff before we met that she was really positive, and she's got an amazing outlook on life. And I think we could have kept talking for ages, and even the non-musical stuff that we spoke about was just so resonant for me, and I hope it was useful for you to listen to as well. And do check out her STEM Club. Check out her STEM Club to download some of her drum tracks. And yeah, you can also pay her to play drums on your specific track, and I'm sure she would do an incredible job on that. Okay, next month, I don't know what's happening. Maybe it's not going to be next month. Maybe it's going to be in 4 months. I don't know, but I appreciate you listening. Thank you very much. I'll keep these coming. I'm midierror. This was midierror Meets, and I'll see you again soon.